Welcome. Here I'm going to explain what this storytime focused on narrative tenses interactive class is about. The objective is for students to describe stories chronologically correct. The, the target is students from B2 level, upper intermediate, ages 18 and above. The grammar narrative tenses. Let's begin. So we start the class by asking students, to motivate them, what movie style do you prefer the most? You can chat with them with this question. We move on to the next one. Here we have these 6 posters with different genres: action, fiction, horror, fantasy, kids, and romance. If they click on action, it will take them to a next slide. This one says, really? Some of mine as well. Let us know which ones are yours and why. Encourage your students to talk to their partners next to them. They can work in pairs or even in trios. Once they're done, they need to click. If they click on horror, the same thing will happen. You have here a legend, a GIF. They click on it. The same with fiction. Here you have a legend, a GIF. Make sure you encourage your students to speak. Once they're done, they can click on 1, 2, or 3, and then move on to the next slide. Here you tell your students that they need to organize their ideas. And here they are presented the movie plot structure, which you have the background, the elements inside the background, characters, the development, and climax. All right, you move on to the next slide. Listening, part of the warm-up. This is to introductory for the while activity. So you will tell your students that they are going to watch a video with a brief description of the movie. Click on the image to listen to the audio. If you click on the picture, it will take you to a different video. Here you have this video. It is very short and easy. Remember
Killed.
that your
Somebody
students are
mugs him
B2.
on planet Earth, and he takes.
All right,
There, he
44,
meets a
44
people.
seconds. Then they go back to the next slide, and it is part of the listening. Now, based on what they watched, they need to choose out of these 3 different paint spots the correct description of the audio. Okay, if all the information is included, or there is more information in here or not. So they choose A, B, or C. If they choose B, it is incorrect, incorrect, or C. There you have it, easy, correct. So now let's move on to the next slide. Okay, here you need to remind your students the structure of the correct structure of a plot. Okay, make sure you make sure you encourage your students to speak and interact with each other. So you tell them, do you remember how the description was structured by the editor? Did he skip one point? So here you have the background, and you talk to them, and they say, okay, maybe I don't remember he included the type of film, but he included the setting. In this part, I remember he talked about the key characters, but he never mentioned the actors, the stars. The same here with the development, the plot, how the story begins, what leads the characters to take action into the story. I don't remember him saying that, so make sure you encourage your students. Here we need to wait a bit more for the next instructions. In the following instructions, what they are going to do is they are going to be shown 3 different posters. They need to pick one, and based on the plot structure, based on the diagram, they need to describe the picture to their partners. Okay, this is uh, the warm up. Okay, they're going to describe their partners the other pictures, and the ones that you have here, you have Matrix, Narnia, and Split. Okay, so this presentation is already ready for your class. Now, here we go to the next slide. Now here you have how we finish the warm-up. These three questions to use with your students. If they need to discuss further, make sure you tell them here they have real articles from magazines. Each one of them has a real article if they would love to discuss further. All right. For example, do you believe humankind will ever travel through space to colonize new planets in the galaxy? This article is really interesting. It's from National Geographic, so they can click on this and it will redirect them to the article. Okay, you can talk to them. Now let's go to the next slide, which is the wild activity. All right, let's wait for it. There. Okay. Now the reading. Read the first part of the story. Here you have in this story the first two paragraphs. Make sure you give your students time to to read. Even though they are B2 level, you always need to give them time. Now, reading this is very important because here the setting of the context of the whole story is described, and also the main character, which is Wiki Composer. She is an avatar. Now, in the next instructions, your students will need to think of what the Wiki Composer's appearance is. Based on what they imagine, they will use either Genially, Canva, Paint, Photoshop, or Funky apps to draw, create, or use different pictures or cutouts from the internet to create what they believe Wiki Composer's appearance is. Okay, if you click on each one of these icons, it will take you to the official webpage of each one of them. Okay, this is really interesting. You are making use of their creativity. Now, ready. Once they're done, they need to share their creation by sharing their screens with the whole class. Remember, you are working online, and it is very easy for them to share their um, to share their creations. Okay, make sure you encourage them to speak. It is really important. We move on. We continue with the reading activity. So here you have different options of how the rest of the story unfolds. Choose the column with the correct chronological order. If they need to check the first part of the text again, here you have the same two paragraphs from the previous slide. Now what they need to do is to read these different options and see if the paragraphs are ordered correctly based on, these two first. Okay, so you have option one, they need to read it. Option two, they've got to read it. And option three, they have to read it. Okay. Um, Once they're done, below they will appear some blue buttons. When they choose their option, they will click on the button and see if their answer is correct. They will pick one, two, three, until they find the correct answer. Okay. They will find it out with some gifts, the ones your students will find funny and entertaining. So that is what you need to do with this interactive with gamification. Keep your students entertained and using different tools or resources that will keep your students focused on the activity. If they choose the first one, they will see that it's not correct. If you choose number 3, it's not correct. So it would be this one. And we go to the next slide. Here you have different exercises. Here they have the text, the complete text. Here you have a true, false, and doesn't say exercise. This icon will lead you to a forms page. The results will be sent to your Google account. Here you have other. This is about vocabulary, relating words and phrases, synonyms or similar ideas uncovered, revealed. You have an example. Here you have the exercise. We go to the next part. Then it is the grammar introduction. It is about narrative tenses. They have the uses of narrative tenses, and they need to discuss which narrative tense this explanation is from. We go to the next one. You ask your students. They will be directed to grammar exercises if they choose to, they need to review the grammar. They choose yes, and it will take you to a video where they need to watch it again. It is also short, so it will take you no time. Next slide. And here you have the exercises. These are to work with their partners, but here they have extra homework. Okay. Finally, we go to the post activity, and it's this one. Let's get down to making use of that creativity and imagination of yours. Here you have the directions. What they need to do is they need to pick with their partners one of these titles, and based on that title, they need to create a story. Here the instructions say, on Canva or Genially, create a story using narrative tenses. Make sure to include illustrations about the characters and the context, the landscapes, and everything. So they need to use also the diagram of the correct structure, the characters, the background, the development, and the climax in the story. Here, finally, they need to create a QR code for their Genially or Canva design. They will share this QR code, with their partners on Teams or on a blog or on the platform they are working on. So this is how we finish. If they do not remember when you told them how to create QR codes, here they have this tutorial, really quick tutorial to remember. And here we are using the five skills. Five skills. So thank you. This would be